when I was protesting, I was the age of these people, and they were older people like myself. I'm 82 now, and they were older people like myself. And then I thought, when I'm their age, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hang out and protest. And I just thought I belonged down here. That was it.
I'm a product of the 60s.
Okay.
The night I graduated from high school was the night Robert Kennedy was assassinated in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And then in the early 90s, in my hometown, which is population 700, 750, in northeastern North Carolina, there was an attempt by a big industry to site a hazardous waste incinerator between two swamps in that area, which scientifically made no sense. I haven't seen the kind of political corruption that happened and affected people that I had grown up respecting and looking up to. I saw what an activist spirit could do, because we actually won that small battle. There's a sense of social justice that is in the genes, I suppose.
A lot of sort of older activists refer to the 60s and 70s, but say that this is still very unlike that. So it comes close in that there's unity among people, and there's protests going on, and there's some really wonderful things. But they say it's different. I don't really yet understand how it's different, but that everyone does say it's just different.
Jamming.
That's Sophie's stuff right there, your left.
Right there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Trying to create an intranet platform that is on top of the website that integrates all the groups together.
A group.
Is your group?
Yes.
Fantastic.
We're actually moving.
You're moving?
We're going to occupy another space.
Oh, really?
Do you want to follow us?
Yeah.
We're going to a church. So we are the nomadic occupiers group. We move around and we occupy different spaces.
Okay.
Late at night. So it's not as public, but at the same time, we believe that the actions still have effects. During the day, we choose different places strategically.
Okay.
And then we go to them at night. And we camp out there for the night, and then we wake up in the morning and we come back to this general occupation, and we're part of the group. And then each night we choose a different spot strategically. So
why strategically? What's the strategy?
well, the strategy is that we can't be too aggressive. Well, we're not aggressive at all. But we just want to keep it not centralized to this spot. We want to spread throughout the city, but we realize that if we try to take this whole thing there, we're obviously going to get a lot of resistance from the police. So we're doing it in small groups so that it's effective.
Okay.
But we get attention, but not too much attention. So
Okay.
that's the aim.
Okay.
Well, I'm as a native New Yorker, I know about the gentrification of space, the not having right or privilege to any space, even though you're born here. I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in. In New York, every single space is owned, and I do public art and murals, so I think about outdoor and so-called quote-unquote public space. We don't actually have any what is called public space. I think that's a misnomer.
By Wall Street, I think the most amazing thing that's happening is that we're taking over the commons. Spaces that should be ours, we're retaking them, and we're doing really positive and wonderful things in them. We are learning from each other, and I think liberating each other from some very old and oppressive ways of thinking.
Several months before this Occupy Wall Street started, I thought that something had to happen. That it was so bad, every day got worse, there were worse news. And I thought something was going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe I thought of it because of the Arab Spring.
Yeah.
But that something should happen here.
There are a lot of people who would like to connect to this movement, and
There was a very contentious
there's
DA.
Well, obviously a lot of people who basically just have to work 3 jobs just to feed their family and their kids.
That's it.
And they really can't come and be here in body. But I think that if this movement continues to expand to other locations exactly as it has over the world, that if we do that amongst various parts of the city, even if it's just for one night, like at least people will know that there's somebody in that area that they can connect to them.
We seek out space in this movement, particularly in this arena of education and empowerment, that are public spaces, where there's public traffic walking through in the spirit of Occupy Wall Street, so that not only do we accomplish our goals of meeting and agenda and announcements and organizing and those kind of things, but that so the public in the community also realizes that we're here and they have a break in their consciousness and in their daily life to go, wow, something else is happening other than work, home, the news, TV, but there are people out there like really doing something.
There's a million ways, and we need to find those million ways to connect the people who can't be there every day. And I think this is just one good opportunity to do it. And it's exciting, it's fun, you get to come and find a new place to sleep in New York City every night. Not much people get to do that. The occupation down at McCarthy's Park, you can go and sit in a discussion, and it's people, you'll find a businessman next to a hobo, next to an anarchist, next to a student, and they're all there for one general common reason, and it's just the fact that we feel like our voices are not being heard.
The reason for the thing's success is the fact that it's leaderless, that nobody has been able to, unilaterally form, a list of demands or any number of things that would limit the ecumenical quality of its appeal. So the fact that it's leaderless has been really critical, and the fact that there's essentially a group of people at Zuccotti Park who have this General Assembly that's, because it operates on a 9/10 consensus rule, is essentially impotent to create any sort of radical thing. And then everything else is just autonomous groups working in solidarity with the ideas of the operation. So that's what makes a movement out of it. So the leaderlessness has been really, really great.
It's wonderful and it's so difficult. A horizontal way of governing, a horizontal movement is very difficult because there's no hierarchy, which we're used to. So we have to liberate ourselves from that mentality. And then we have to let our egos go, or check them very often, so that we can give and take and accept criticism and give criticism and share roles and power and build consensus.
The consensus based?
Yeah.
I'm glad they're doing it. It is not easy. It's kind of messy.
We're doing a facilitation training for people that are interested in facilitating General Assemblies, who are taking responsibility on for working groups. And so it's a session for people to become more comfortable and deepen their knowledge, to gain more skills and more confidence, and to try and improve a lot of the work, or improve our meetings. So right now, people are breaking out into small groups to actually practice facilitation, to learn new tools, and so we'll be doing that throughout some of this training.
Well, there's about 12 subcommittees now. When I first started participating, I was one early on. We had our first meeting, or the first meeting I went to, which I think was maybe the first or second meeting, and we met at an open public space up a couple blocks from here, and there were maybe about 12 people.
Okay.
And then a half a week later, I come into this space here, in this closed atrium public space, which is great because it's a public space, and it's in the spirit of Occupy Wall Street because it is a public space, and you get public traffic, people coming in like blowing their minds, seeing like people making a difference in their neighborhood and in their workplace. And I come in, and there were about 40 people at that meeting, and since then it's just grown, and it did that like in a half a week. It quadrupled in like a half a week. And that night we split into a number of subcommittees, and those subcommittees have also now grown to I think there's about 12 subcommittees now.
That I want to come out of it is it's not about committees, or it's not about a political message, it's about building a community that breaks down all forms of boundaries and classes amongst us.
I think that it's so important that we continue occupying that space in Zuccotti Park, because I think that space is so important for a place for people to come, and I think it really generates hope and gives people hope when they actually are in that space and see what's going on in that space.
I am here to work with education empowerment because I feel like that's what this movement is about. Without education or reaching out to people outside of this movement, then the movement is not going to continue. And I hope it is a movement. I'm not sure what it is yet.
It's obvious that the economy is, I think the correct term for it is a permanent war economy. In other words, America, for example, America is the biggest weapons dealer in the world.
This is the anti-war working group, and we're meeting to map out some plans for November 11th. We hope to have some actions, do some teach-ins. We want to make the link between the impact of militarism on the federal budget and the banks, making the banks pay in order to make our needs, the needs of our communities.
I was superintendent of a small school district in North Carolina. So the kind of politics that influence public education on that level I'm aware of, and have just spent time with a guy who is working on the student loan issue, and it was great to hear somebody that knew so much in depth about an issue and is trying to translate into political action something, because some of this seems very soft in terms of the political dynamics. And my hope is that it can be translated into some real political action.
They obviously sense that this is tremendously important, and the ramifications around the country and the world. And there's tremendous joy in the faces. That's what I'm most struck by, the sense of rightness that they feel. And beauty in the faces. I'm just thrilled to come here.
Yeah.